Hi guys, welcome back to the Curly Reader. So today I want to share with you all of the books that I added to my Goodreads TBR in the month of October. Before I get started though, I did want to throw out there, I was going through my YouTube subscriptions and people that I'm subscribed to and what they've posted recently and stuff, and realized that I don't think I ever mentioned where I got this idea from, and now I'm a few months into it and I feel horrible that I've lacked to give this person credit for this video idea for so long, and I felt the need to rectify that ASAP. So this video idea originally came from Karen at Rather Be Reading. She has been posting added books I added to my want to read list or something along those lines for a while now. So I definitely want to give her the credit for coming up with this idea because that's where I got the idea from. And so I'm very, very sorry, Karen, that it has taken me so long to give you the credit for this. I was watching through my back videos and stuff and just it never clicked with me that I had never done that. And so I definitely wanted to do that, and I will obviously link her channel in the description down below because if you haven't already checked her out, you should. Her content is great and I really love looking at what she is adding to her TBRs as well. So all of that being said, let's get into what I added to my Goodreads TBR during the month of October. All right, so first and foremost, the first book that I added to my list is Michigan versus the Boys by Carrie S. Allen, and I added this to my TBR after watching Books and Lala's Slapshot Readathon vlog. She did a readathon that focused all around hockey, and I really wish I would have participated in it because I love hockey too, and yeah, but that's beside the point. This book sounds very similar to Beartown in a sense. It is about a girl who is on a girls' hockey team and the funding is cut for her team, and so her teammates are all kind of scattered. Some of them are going to other towns to play, some of them have quit playing hockey. She, however, decides to kind of make a stand and decides to join the boys' hockey team, which she's allowed to do because they don't have a girls' team. And it's kind of about her experience on the boys' hockey team and what she's faced with and the way that they, for lack of better words, harass and abuse her to try to get her to fold. And it just, on the tail of reading Beartown, this sounded like something I would be interested in reading about. Not that I enjoy the content, but I find it very intriguing and I find it important for reading, especially, like I said before, when I did my Beartown review as a mom of girls. I feel like reading things like this is important for me to gain perspective. So I added this one to my TBR. The next one that I added to my list is Lovely War by Julie Berry. I first heard about this from Kara at Wild Book Garden. She did a whole like dedicated review video on this book, and then after I saw her review, I had the chance to go see Julie Berry speak at the Twin Cities Book Festival last month, and so that just even further solidified the fact that I would like to read this book. The way that I understand it is it has to do with Greek mythology. I think it's Greek mythology, and then also World War One. I believe it's World War One. So I think it's at the very tail end of World War One, and there's two different couples that are non-traditional couples. So one of them I think is like mixed race, and I'm not sure about the other one, but it has to do with like Greek gods. I'm not going to be able to remember the right gods that it's about, but it's the god of love, and she's like on trial from these other gods, and she is kind of explaining her story through this story that's taking place during World War One. So it sounds very bizarre, but it also sounds really intriguing, and I really enjoy World War One fiction. It is a time period that most people don't write books about. Most people write books about World War II, and I really enjoy learning more about World War I. It was a horrific time in history, and there was a lot of violence and a lot of horrible things were happening. And I just find it very interesting to learn about how humanity dealt with that. And so I thought that this would be a good one to read. And then on the same panel that Julie Berry was speaking on, oh, excuse me. But on the same panel that Julie Berry was speaking on, Catherine McGee was also speaking on that panel, and she is the author of American Royals, which recently came out. And so I went ahead and added that one to my TBR as well. And this one is about like if the United States was a monarchy instead of a democracy. So like an alternative history of the United States, and it's about it's kind of set in current day, but it's about the prince and princesses of the United States instead of like the president's daughters, basically. So anyway, it sounded interesting, and getting to hear Catherine McGee speak about it and like the history and the research that she did when she was studying for this book was really fun. So I added that one to my TBR as well. And then at the same book festival, I was very, very excited because I was able to go see Sheila O'Connor speak. And she is the author of one of my favorite books that I've read this year. And I don't have it because I have it lent out to somebody right now. But Until Tomorrow, Mr. Marsworth is the title of the book that I have read this year that I loved. And she was at the book festival. And so I got to hear her speak about her new book, which is called The Evidence of V. And when I was there, I was in line getting my book to get my book signed, and the lady that was standing in line with me recommended another book of hers that I'm very excited to check out, and it is called Where No Gods Came. And this lady was saying that it's her favorite Sheila O'Connor book that she's read. It has to do with a little girl whose parents are divorced, and she lives with her dad, and then her dad goes to work on an oil rig, and so she goes to live with her mom, and she doesn't really know her mom very well. And so it's just kind of about that relationship as far as I know. And yeah, but this lady was ranting and raving about it, and so that got added to my TBR because I really enjoyed Sheila O'Connor's other work. So yeah. I also added, and I actually got this one out from the library because it's now on my nonfiction November TBR, and that is Seabiscuit by Laura Hillenbrand. This I heard about from Lindsay at Lindsay's Little Library. She did like a September wrap up, and this was on it. I had already known that this book was out there. It was already on my radar. After I read Unbroken, I was kind of interested in it, but I'm like, I don't know. I'm not super into horse racing or horses in general. But Lindsay really, really enjoyed this one. And yeah, so I went ahead and added this one to my TBR. And if I don't get to it during Nonfiction November, I'm still hoping that I can get to it soon because she seemed to really like it, especially in comparison to Unbroken. And Unbroken is definitely at the top of my list of favorite books I've read this year so far. So yeah, so that one got officially added to my Goodreads TBR during the month of October. I then added Stepsister by Jennifer Donnelly, and I heard about this one from Laura at a book circus. She had it in her October mid-month wrap-up. Since seeing that video, I've also seen somebody else, I'm trying to think, it might have been Emily at Books for Life, also had this in one of her wrap-up videos. And this is a kind of like a retelling of Cinderella, kind of. We're following one of the stepsisters, but it takes place after Cinderella. And so it seems to be a little bit darker, a little bit more, not grotesque necessarily, but just more sinister feel for Cinderella. And we're following the stepsister, and she, is very tomboyish. I don't know if that's the right word, but she likes swords and fighting and that kind of stuff. And her mom has always expected her to be like a princess. And then after Cinderella becomes the princess, now what is she supposed to do? And so it just sounded really interesting. And so I added that one. I also then watched Owl Crate, their YouTube channel had one of their girls did a video on middle grade graphic novel recommendations, which, if you've been around here for any length of time at all, you know is my cup of tea, which is ridiculous for a 35-year-old woman. But I love middle grade graphic novels. My kids are obsessed with them. I'm obsessed with them. So it is what it is. Anyway, and so she had a whole list of middle grade graphic novel recommendations. Some of them I've already read and had already read, and then there were a few that I had never heard of before. And so I added from that list The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, and it's by Frank L. Baum, but then it is, who is it? Illustrated by Eric Shanauer and Scotty Young. But it's a graphic novel, like, retelling of The Wizard of Oz. And the illustrations are so fun. Obviously, I picked this up from the library. I ended up picking this up to read for Believe-a-thon because I thought it would fit in as a classic and as just a middle grade book. But I'm excited to check this one out. I've never actually read the book of The Wizard of Oz. And I don't know as though I'm super interested in reading the print version, but graphic novel, heck yeah. And it's put out by Marvel. So, and there are a lot of different, like, this is a first in a series. So, like, right inside the first cover, it has the Marvelous Land of Oz. Like, it just looks so cool. So I'm very excited for this one. Also from that video, she recommended This Was Our Pact by Ryan Andrews. She said she got Stranger Things vibes from this one, and it's a little bit thicker for a middle grade. I went ahead and grabbed this one for Believe-a-thon as well, and it's more of a darker cast for the illustrations, but I thought it'd be fun, and so I added this one to my TBR. I'm not super sure what it's about, but we'll see. And then the last one that I added to my TBR from her recommendations list is called Pilu of the Woods, and it's by Mai K. I'm not going to be able to pronounce this last name. It's Vietnamese. I know it's Vietnamese, and I know I don't know how to pronounce it, so I'm just going to put it on the screen because I don't want to butcher it. Anyway, and then I looked at my library for this one, and they don't have it. So I'm going to have to do some digging to see where I'm going to be able to find this one at. But Pilu of the Woods, the way that she explained it, what it's about, this kid who, like, goes into the woods and finds this creature, and the creature just kind of helps them through a dark time in their life, is the basis of it. And the illustrations just look really cute, so that got added to my TBR because I am a sucker for good illustrations in a middle grade graphic novel. Just gonna say, if your illustrations are not good, I'm not going to pick it up. So anyway, so I added those ones, and then Liv from Liv's Library, I think it's Olivia maybe, but anyway, she did a book that was manga recommendations for newbies, and manga is something that I have never delved into, honestly, because I never knew how to read it. I knew the covers were on the back of the book, but I had no idea if you read it from back to front or from front to back, or if you read it backwards, and she explained it in her video, which I am very thankful for because now I don't feel as intimidated by manga as I did before. But she had some recommendations, and so I added a couple of those to my TBR, thinking that here in the near future, maybe I'll start picking up some manga and kind of dipping my toes into that a little bit since I like graphic novels so much. I'm thinking that's kind of the next step for that. But the two that I added to my TBR that are manga from her recommendations are The Promised Neverland. Not even going to try to pronounce the authors' names because they're Japanese and I have no idea how to pronounce them. But The Promised Neverland and Wolf Children, Ami and Yuki. So I added those two to my TBR. I'm not 100% sure anymore what they're about, but she really loved them, and the synopsis sounded good when she explained them. So The Promised Neverland, I think, is like a fantasy where the kids are taken to an alternate universe. I don't think it's necessarily like a Peter Pan retelling, but I don't know. I know she said it gets dark in a few places, but we'll see. And then Wolf Children is about this girl, whatever, who has kids and they are wolves. I don't know. But it sounded cute. The illustrations didn't look too intense. I'm not super into like anime and that kind of illustrations. But these ones looked, these out of the whole list, these are the two that the premise and the illustrations looked the most like something that I would enjoy. So I wanted to add them so that I knew when I do go to look for manga what I should be looking for. So that's it. Those are the books. Total, it was 11 books that I added to my TBR this month, which, if you've seen my October wrap ups, I read 20 books in October. So that's a negative balance on the TBR. So I'm super stoked about that. And some of these hopefully will be getting read this month. So that's even better. That's it. That's all I got for today. So I hope that you enjoyed this. If you have read any of these, as always, leave the comments down below. Let me know your opinions about them, if any of them have been on your radar. And as always, with all of my Growing TBR videos, I will leave the channels where these recommendations came from linked down below. So please go check them out and give all of these great booktubers some love. And yeah, other than that, I hope that you stick around and subscribe. And until next time, see ya!